Hello and welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. I'm here, joined as always by Paul Nealon for this week in Irish football. And no better place to start than Evan Ferguson, who looks to be on the move this summer. Very strongly linked with Roma. The deal seems to be in advanced stages. A loan move. I know you've talked about this a little bit on TikTok and Instagram, but your thoughts on this move?
It doesn't seem to be a loan move anymore. It looks like it's going to be like 43 million euros. So
Okay.
he could actually be the most expensive Irish player transferring to or transfer of all time. So it could be huge, or it could be another West Ham situation.
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of spoken and I did a video with it on already. So I suppose I'll get your thoughts on it, and then we obviously have a voice note in from Steve as well on the situation, which is a good valid point I think our viewers might take into consideration as well. So yeah, you fire away.
Yeah, look, and I know our European correspondent here, Steve, will have a say on this one, but on the surface of it, it's a great move. Going to a league where maybe less spotlight on him than the Premier League. I know we've talked about it before, but he's still 20 years old, still bags of potential. I don't think that it would take too much for him to kind of turn his career on its head. At the moment, it's been quite disastrous, I would say, over the last year or two. Between injury struggles at Brighton, going out on loan, the West Ham move, we've talked about it a lot here. That didn't work out at all. And to be honest, before that move, I would have said that was a good move as well. So I kind of don't want to jump to conclusions here and say, oh, it's brilliant, Evan Ferguson is going to be back to his best. However, on the surface of it, as I said, this is a good move. He's moving to a league where it might be better for young strikers, might be better for strikers of Evan Ferguson's profile. He's playing under a manager in Gasperini who is an experienced manager. He's won things, obviously won the Europa League with Atalanta in Dublin a couple of years ago against Bayer Leverkusen. Has a habit of getting stuff out of players who might be lesser thought of. So I think this could be a good move for Evan Ferguson. However, I don't want to,
Jump the gun.
get excited. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, look, I'll play Steve's voice notes for people here so they can hear. I think, and we can discuss afterwards. Okay.
And don't forget to talk about the fact that Artem Dovbyk, who was fourth or second top goal scorer for Girona only 2 seasons ago and competing for a league title, was also Roma's top goal scorer last season, and he's still at Roma. Now, there is rumours of him going and that Roma want him out because Gasperini doesn't seem to want him for whatever reason. Well, make sure you mention that because this could be another West Ham situation, genuinely. So. And a nice point is the fact that, Gasperini's worked with a couple of strikers that were kind of like, not great goal scorers or journeymen. Scamacca, Retegui, who was the top goal scorer of the league last season under Gasperini, and now he's after getting sold for big money to Saudi Arabia. Lookman, he turned into a bit of a goal scorer, so he's dealt well with strikers. Gasperini has, especially young strikers. So yeah, there's some points for Evan Ferguson.
So there you have it. That's been our European correspondent, Stephen Byrne. Yeah, look, I think he makes good points there. I mean, you talk about Fulkrug at West Ham, who Ferguson was supposed to kind of come in and pip, but that wasn't the case. And then obviously, if Roma do keep Dovbyk, he was their main man last season. So Ferguson won't have an easy task of just coming in and being the number 9 straight away. But what positives work in his favour is the likes of Ademola Lookman, who was obviously he's with Everton and Leicester and stuff like that and struggled. And then Gasperini got a hold of him at Atalanta and turned him into a really top level player. And he, at the moment, he's still being linked with a lot of big clubs in Europe. He mentioned obviously Retegui. He's gone to Saudi Arabia, and I can't remember who the other striker who he said was, but he has worked with good players there. Who's that number 9 Atalanta? The Colombian they used to have up front.
Muria, was it?
No, it wasn't. I think it was Udinese. It was a big, huge number 9.
Zapata?
Yeah, I think it was him. But he said Scamacca as well, obviously. He was at West Ham. So he has a way of getting good players who maybe aren't, say, loved, and finding a way of making them feel loved and making them find their way in front of goal again. So, this could work both ways. But based on what Steve's saying, what way do you look at it?
Yeah, I kind of think he's almost valued higher outside of the Premier League at the moment than he would be in the Premier League, just because of the kind of people are maybe scarred from his recent time at Brighton, his loan move to West Ham. I think the fact that Brighton initially anyway were keen to make this a loan move goes to show that they still see value in him and wanted him to return after having hopefully a good spell in Rome. Roma obviously showing that they value him highly by placing a what was it, 40 plus million
43,
value on him. So,
euros.
So clearly it's like big sums of money we're talking here. That's not someone that you wouldn't be spending that just to bring him in and have him sit on the bench really. So I think if you're paying that much for a player, an international player, he's scored goals at international level for Ireland, has scored goals as a teenager in the Premier League for Brighton, who aren't one of the top teams necessarily. I think it's clear to see that Evan Ferguson has got bags and bags of potential, and really the sky's the limit for him. It's just if he's able to make that next step and just get his career kind of back on track.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is like Everton and Roma have the same owners now in the Freaking Group, and I've been very impressed with the way that they've handled already this summer with Everton's transfer dealings, and obviously we'll come on to one of the other transfers in a minute. But I think they're obviously identifying players, and they've identified Ferguson as the player who's going to be their number 9 for the next number of years. Roma, I can't emphasise, are a massive club in Italy.
Yeah,
massive. Like you have to look at Francesco Totti or Daniele De Rossi, of 2 players who are icons at the club, and you can see how well respected they are for what they've done for the club and stuff like that. So it's an exciting move for Evan. There will be a lot of pressure on him though. Fans in Italy aren't that forgiving, so I just hope that they're patient with him at the start, and then hopefully he can just repay the faith then and become a hero. I mean, how good would that be, seeing Evan Ferguson being a regular goal scorer in European competition and in the league, and maybe getting them up higher in that Serie A. They nearly got the Champions League last season under Ranieri, and now they've obviously got Gasperini. But this is where I'm talking about the new Freaking Group. Like, they brought in Gasperini. They're trying to identify the best people for the club. They're doing good transfer business, and I imagine that they'll get into the Champions League next season.
Yeah, and it's worth saying, like, as much as his form has dropped at club level, his form is maintained with Ireland, scoring recently against Bulgaria, and yet just missed out on Champions League football, but are playing Europa League football anyway, so it's a good chance for him there. You mentioned that ownership group, their business with Everton. Moving on to another deal that looks to be on the verge of happening, Mark Travers, who looks to be going to your beloved Everton, had his medical, I believe, today. Looks like a £4 million deal plus add-ons. What do you think of this move?
Transfer's imminent. I imagine he's being taking videos and everything like that at the club today. Yeah. And I imagine he'll be announced either tomorrow or the next day. I think it's a better deal for Everton than it is for Travers, because he's 26 years of age. He kind of had his first spell of being a number 1 at Middlesbrough at the back end of last season and done well. Every time he's come in for Bournemouth, he's done well, and every time he's probably come in for Ireland, bar that one little error he made, or I don't even know if you can call it an error. He kind of off his line a little bit, and Mitrovic is a top class forward, and he punished him, but and then he was never really brought back into the fold again really to play, and I felt sorry for him in that aspect, because he hadn't really done anything wrong up to that point, and at that time Ireland were just so desperate for any sort of results that he just became a bit of a victim in that. And I think it kind of derailed his career, because maybe he had a good game there that maybe makes his career, where he does go on to be the number 1 and stuff. But what I would say from an Everton point of view, it's great business to get a keeper of that stature for £4 million and add-ons or whatever it is. But I don't know what they are, but probably games played and all that sort of thing. Look, I think he's going to be a solid backup to Pickford, but also Pickford needs someone to push him. I'm not saying he's going to get in ahead of him, but it's just good to have someone young and hungry who's there. Like, if something does happen to Pickford, or touch wood, he does get injured, then you have Mark Travers, who's reliable and capable, and every time he came in to play for Bournemouth, he done well as a backup. So I don't see any issues with his ability or any of that sort of stuff. It's just more so from his own, I suppose, career development. I'm kind of looking at it going, why aren't you looking to be a number 1 somewhere, considering your age? Fair enough if Everton are paying a massive wage for him, which I don't think they will be. I think they'll be paying better than Bournemouth, and he gets to stay in the Premier League, and I get that. Everton are a massive club in the Premier League, despite what people want to say. But that's why I'd be saying, like, it's a better move for Everton than I think for Travers, and I'm saying that as an Everton fan. Yeah,
I completely agree with that. So the Petrovic, the Chelsea goalkeeper, his move to Bournemouth has obviously accelerated this deal, meaning Travers is signing for Everton. I completely agree with you. I just don't know. I don't see where the ambition here is for Mark Travers. You touched on it a little bit there. We all know how talented of a keeper Mark Travers is. You can rely on him. I think he's a really talented shot stopper. I think he has great command of his area. He makes one mistake which kind of derails his Ireland career. After that, obviously Gavin Bazunu who comes in. That Portugal game really put him on the map really for Ireland. And you're looking at the current landscape of Irish goalkeepers. You have Caoimhín Kelleher, who's kind of the undisputed number one at the moment. Gavin Bazunu, who's looking to get his career kind of back on track.
You'd probably say he's number 2, but yeah.
After some bad injuries. But then you have the likes of Josh Keeley coming up, who played brilliant last season. You've got great keepers in the underage level. And you're just wondering, is this kind of closing the door on Mark Travers' Ireland career? I think it definitely closes the door on him ever being Ireland's number one, at least for now. Because chances are he's not going to overtake Pickford as Everton's number one, who, you can't speak highly enough of him. He's been that important for Everton in some difficult years recently, and you just cannot really see him replacing him at Everton at the moment. You would see it kind of being, I know you touched on it, it's great for him to learn under an experienced manager like David Moyes and a experienced international keeper like Jordan Pickford, who's played at the World Cup, played at the Euros. So I suppose in that way he can develop his career from there. But in terms of the here and now, he's 26. He's not really like a young developmental keeper. He's a great backup keeper for Everton. And I think as an Everton fan, taking any Irish fan perspective out of this, it's a great move for you, because I don't want to dismiss his role. Like, a backup keeper is an important role, and I think no one exemplifies that more than Caoimhín Kelleher.
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying there about it's a better deal for Everton than it is Travers. Like, it's way better for Everton. But that's why I've been so impressed with the owners.
Yeah,
how they've conducted. Like, they're going, right, he's the best backup that we can get. We're going to spend money on him. He's better than Begovic. He's better than Joao Virginia. Get him in, and he'll play games. And you look at his injury record. He plays a lot. If he's around or whatever, you don't see him missing too many. Not that he starts too many games, but he always seems to be around. He always seems to be there. Even with the Ireland camps, he's always there. You never see him really miss out, only because, Middlesbrough and the Championship, he was told to kind of take an extended break so Josh Keeley could come in. But as someone who played in goal, at a good level and stuff like that, how would you feel, like, looking at it? Like, if you're thinking of, like, a career pathway, it's not really, like, I'm just trying to understand his way of thinking.
Yeah, and I think for his sake, I would have much rather them get a move to, a top-end Championship club, which I think he could have got.
Or abroad.
Yeah, or abroad. I suppose Gavin Bazuni's move didn't exactly work out at Standard Liège, but a lot of that was to do with injury. A lot of other players, and I know it's actually one of the main themes that we talk about on Irish Abroad, of kind of encouraging Irish players who have hit a stopgap in their career to take that jump and go abroad. And I think a lot more Irish players are more comfortable doing that now, and I think they've led in Troy Parrott's footsteps, really, who has been the kind of the shining light for that move in your career.
Well, him or Josh Cullen.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Josh really excelled his international career and stuff like that, working with Vincent Kompany. Are you going to talk about any more transfers before you move on?
Nothing else, no. For
just Aaron Connolly to Leyton Orient. I just think it's important we discuss that. Yeah,
so he goes to Leyton Orient, and Leyton Orient just missed out on getting promoted to the Championship from League One through the playoffs. We talked about it on the Irish Abroad about Josh Keeley's time last season on loan, obviously from Spurs, how good he was this year. But it is worth saying Leyton Orient have lost a lot of players from that team. A lot of them were on loan, similarly to Josh Keeley. Aaron Connolly goes in there now, and it's kind of another move for Aaron Connolly. We've talked about it, in this kind of short season that we've done the Irish Abroad the last year or so. We've talked about a couple of different Aaron Connolly moves already. Do you think this one is going to work out? What do you think?
Personally, for him, I hope it does.
Yeah.
Taking anything away from it, I just hope he can find some happiness in how he's playing. Obviously, the last two moves have been very short-lived. Millwall, Sunderland. I think he's got 14 appearances for each and a goal each. He can clearly score at that level, but I think this is a move where he goes down, hopefully scores a few goals, and then that takes him back up. I mean, he's kind of down, Leyton Orient, they're London. He kind of knows that area and stuff like that, so he's kind of in a more familiar area than, say, Sunderland. Obviously, Millwall's in London, but he's kind of getting to stay around London, where he seems to like. So, I think his last chance saloon for him here, or else he could end up back in the League of Ireland in the next couple of years. I think playing in Ireland, because there's only so many clubs you can keep going to before people kind of going like, what's the story here? You know what I mean? And like, from what I know of Aaron, he's a lovely fella. He's a nice young man. And for that aspect, I'd just like to see him doing well. But there's a little bit of bias there. I've done podcasts with him and stuff like that, so I've kind of got to know him. So I'd be wanting him to do well from a personal point of view. So just that. But how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I kind of differ slightly. I think, unlike the Evan Ferguson move, which feels like a real kind of crossroads in his career, can either go back to positive and skyrocket his career back up to the kind of level that we thought he would reach, or it could go wrong again, like the West Ham move. He comes back to Brighton, and where do we go from there? I think the pressure.
He stuck at Roma.
Well, there you go. If he signs permanently, then what are you doing then? Whereas Aaron Conley, he's bounced around a little bit now. I think the pressure is slightly off. And look, if he ends up back in the League of Ireland, great. I think he'd come back and absolutely smash it. Similar to other players, we're going to talk about Mipo Odebeko in a few minutes. But I don't think the pressure is necessarily there for Aaron Conley. And I know at the time he actually did have that kind of expectation that Evan Ferguson had at one point. Coming up through Brighton, he was almost the Evan Ferguson before Evan Ferguson, when he kind of burst on the scene and scored a couple of goals. But I don't think the pressure's really there from going to Leyton Orient. I think he can kind of just get his head down and play football and hopefully, as you say, find a bit of happiness and find a home at Leyton Orient.
Yeah, and then hopefully after that he gets to move to something better. But it remains to be seen. I just thought it would be someone, because we hadn't spoken about it really.
Yeah, absolutely. So
and then we didn't speak about Mikey Johnson's failed move either.
Yeah, actually, to follow up on that, we spoke about Mikey Johnson's supposed move to Flamengo last week. That seems to have fallen through. Do you want to explain why that might have fallen through?
It was like the Flamengos on holiday. Popped the air in the balloon on that one. It just seemed to be fan backlash. I don't know exactly the whole thing, but yeah, it seemed to be for fan backlash, which is bizarre in my opinion, but it is what it is, and he's not signing for them. But I just thought, in case anyone hadn't heard, I'm sure they had, but we just never really discussed it. I never really heard of fans stopping a move or fans being so outraged that they stopped the move. I actually think it's a bit embarrassing, for the fan base more than anything else. So yeah, and look, he was back getting assists for West Brom at the weekend, the friendly, so fair play to him.
So unfortunately we have to rip up the tickets to Rio, but it looks like he might be linked to a few other clubs as well, so maybe he gets a move, or if not, stay at West Brom and a top club in the Championship, try to get your side promoted. But moving on to go ahead.
I just wonder one day will we get a South American player playing, like an Irish player going to South America.
Fingers
crossed.
Who
I think who'd be most likely to do it? It was a weird one, but Matt Doherty. With the Atletico Madrid move and stuff like that. I just think he could be one who if they were going to do it, would be him.
Yeah.
Don't know why, I just feel that way about him.
Let us know in the comments below who you think is the most likely Irish player to end up in the Brazilian Serie A or anywhere in South America, really. We'd take anywhere.
Yeah. Boca or River Plate. Yeah.
Oh, it'd be unbelievable. Fingers crossed. But moving on to the team that you're wearing right now, Shelbourne, played their Champions League qualifier in Talca Park last Wednesday against Linfield. It was a Mipo Odebeko second half goal that was the difference between the sides, although I will say, looking back on this match, it was quite evident, I think, the gap in quality and actually physicality between the two teams. I was surprised to see that much of a difference. I don't know what your thoughts on the game were.
Well, you got to remember that they're in pre-season as well, so there's that added fact. I mean, for Shells, they should have scored more goals.
However, just to stop you there though, it's similar to Shamrock Rovers against Larne when they're in the actual group stage. So I do think there's a few examples now where we've seen that kind of gap, and I think that's broadened over the years. Yeah,
I'm not saying that there isn't a gap. I'm just saying that like Shelbourne just looks so much more sharper and everything like that. But they're on, like Linfield were on pre-season. No one stood out on the Linfield team. Like even when Linfield were coming on strong, Shells didn't really look phased. But like Chris Shields comes back next week and he's obviously a big player, so I think it'll be telling when he comes back. They're back at home, they're back at Windsor, and they have their fans there. In terms of Mipo and his goal, it was a brilliant goal. But it was Sean Boyd who made a difference as soon as he came on. Mipo had more time, he had more space, and then he played him in and scored that goal, and it was a great goal because he was snatching at little bits. Mipo was. And I think that's something that Mipo needs to work on, and he said it to me himself, is that when he gets in front of goal, I don't know, it's like he gets a rush of blood or something like that. He just can't seem to compose himself. But I think if he can learn, I'm not sure if it's something you can teach yourself though. It's just some people have a natural instinct and they're cool in front of goal, like Cole Palmer, who he subsequently would have played with over in England. But anyway, like when you look at someone like Cole Palmer, who's such a cool kind of finisher, and then you look at Mipo, where he's called Shoot on Sight, like that's his nickname or whatever, because he's just always shooting from mad areas and stuff like that. And that's
I think
what Damien
by
Duff.
far the most shots by any player in the League of Ireland this season.
Yeah, but see, that's a lot of them are wayward and go wide and stuff like that. So I think if he just kind of could compose himself, I think he could have 20 to 30 goals if he can learn to compose himself. And it's easy for me to sit here and say that, like, he would need to prove that, but he gets himself into so many dangerous areas a lot. And you just think if he had a cooler head sometimes, because his pace, his frame, everything, like, he looks like a proper elite striker. And then I look at players on the Linfield team who are a little bit overweight and stuff like that, and I was like, you don't look like an athlete. And then I look at Meepo, who looks like a fully, eats well, moves well, gets around the pitch well, runs well, everything. He just looks like an elite player. And I didn't really see that from a Linfield point of view. So I think if Shells can get an early goal, and maybe it's Meepo or Sean Boyd, they could really take the tie to Linfield. But I think that they should probably start with the team that they finished with. Although Ali Coote and Harry Wood were really good, but when they play, Meepo doesn't seem to get a lot of the ball in terms of balls into the box or anything like that. But when Sean Boyd came in, they were more direct, and Sean Boyd would take more of the attention, maybe off Meepo, so he could make those runs and stuff like that. But I thought Cam Ledvidge and Paddy Barrett were excellent at the back. Led the team well. Same with Mark Coyle as well. He was playing in the back three again. But see, Shells are missing a couple of players as well. I'd like to see Mark Coyle back in midfield and Sean Gannon maybe at right wing back and stuff like that. Just give us a more balance to the team, I think, over time, and I think over the European run we're going to need that. So should win against Linfield, but it's not going to be easy. And I'm not just saying that to be, non-clickbait or anything like that, but I worry going up there. But that's just the fan in me.
Yeah,
you just worry going up there. But Shells need to win this tie. It'll obviously I think it's worth €2 million.
Yeah,
if they do.
I think at a minimum it's worth €2 million. This is obviously an incredibly important tie financially, because the further you progress through the group stages, as Shamrock Rovers know how important this can be and how much the prize money is worth to a club. You mentioned it there, how well Shells played, and I agree with you. I thought they were dominant, to be honest. I didn't think Linfield really posed them too many problems at all. Do you think that's a bit of cause to be disappointed about the result being only 1-0 going up to what's likely to be a hostile environment up in Windsor Park?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Is like I think Shells, someone hit the bar as well in the first half.
And I know the keeper made an unbelievable save off Evan Caffrey, a header.
I think that's when he tipped onto the bar, was it?
No, it was right down low, and he just got down and kind of pushed it behind him.
Well, he did hit the bar as well. I think Evan Caffrey from a header, or else it was JJ Lunny, one or the other. But so Shells had the chances, and you know what I mean. So yeah, I was disappointed that he didn't get a couple more goals, because it would have been a nice cushion to bring up there, And saying that, the defence marshalled Linfield's attack quite well, but need to be on it going up there, and at minimum need to get a goal up there at minimum, because I think Linfield will score up there. Yeah,
one thing I'd say, I've heard about the kind of plans for this second leg, and apparently there is quite a limited crowd because of safety concerns or whatever. Windsor Park is a big stadium, it's a big pitch. I think that will suit Shells, and I think I would be quite confident. I know I'm not a Shells fan, you might be a bit more nervous about this match, being a fan yourself, but I would be quite confident in Shells getting over the line here. I just don't know if Linfield, I don't think they showed it in Talca Park. Could be a different story in Belfast, but I just wouldn't be confident in seeing them overturn this 1-goal lead.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what lineup Joey O'Brien goes with. And one thing I noticed that I think I'd like Joey O'Brien to stop referring to Damien Duff as the manager and call him Damien. He's the manager now. So, he needs to say enough about Damien Duff. I'm the manager now. And I'm sure he's done that with the players, but just with the media, I've noticed he said it a couple of times. He's referring to Damien Duff as the manager rather than him.
What do you think more generally of Joey O'Brien so far? His approach to the media, it's been quite good, positive on the pitch. I think Shells have been playing a lot better in recent weeks. Maybe it's just there's been a weight off their shoulders, maybe because of the pressure that Damien Duff might have put them under in those final hours. But Joey O'Brien, quite positive so far.
What I'd say about Joey O'Brien is the fact that he seems to make it more about the players. Than Duff was more than ready to take the brunt of everything, or take everything on his shoulders, and almost being like a shadow to the players. they didn't have to worry about it, and he would take everything, whereas O'Brien just kind of takes it in his stride, and he compliments the players very much so. And he was saying, like, all the talk's been about him, all the talk's been about Damien Duff or the manager, and not enough about the players. So he told them to go out and play. That's what he said last week. So I think some of them, like the Shakas, look like they're off, and players like Ali Coote and Harry Wood. Although Ali Coote, I thought, was playing well under Duff in his last few games. And he scored a good goal. I think it was it down in Cork. He scored a nice goal anyway against someone from a distance out, and got Shells back on track. I think it might have been Cork. I could be wrong, but he's been good. And then some of the other players, again, they look like James Norris has kicked on a bit as well. Like, everyone's doing well, in fairness, I would say. And then the bench, it looks as though when players are coming on, they're doing their utmost, like Sean Boyd, to affect games and stuff like that. He's a good relationship with Joey as well. So I think whatever way he sets up is key, that the bench is going to make a difference. And that's what Chris Shields actually said to me at half time in the game. He was saying, like, the subs will make a big difference in the second half, and instant impact. Sean Boyd came on, set up the goal. Yeah,
I thought Boyd was quite good when he came on. So before I move on to Pats, what's your prediction for this Wednesday?
Shells to win the tie 2-1 on aggregate, so 1-1 draw up there.
Yeah, I probably agree that they'll go through. I think they'll win 1-0 up there as well. So Shells 2-0 on aggregate. Moving on though to St. Pat's, who also won 1-0 at home, this time against Lithuanian opposition Hegelman. And it almost, unfortunately, it took Aidan Keane a penalty in the last 10 minutes to put the Saints in front. And I think actually similarly to Shells, they played quite well, probably better than the scoreline suggested, and might be slightly disappointed that they aren't going into the away leg further in front.
I still think they'll go through. I didn't see much of the game. I saw the goal though. It was on some platform or something like that, so it wasn't easy to watch.
And unfortunately, the second leg of the Shells game is also going to be on that platform, I believe.
Okay, well, I'll be up at the Shells game covering that, but look, I won't be in Lithuania. Yeah. But Andrew Lanigan will be.
I think even if we wanted to be, we wouldn't be there.
Well, yeah, that's a fair one. Well, unless it's obviously in the later rounds.
Yeah.
Because at the moment it wouldn't make sense. But yeah, look, I mean, for Pats, this is a tie that could change their season. So I think that they'll be doing everything they can to try and get that result and get that bit of momentum behind their club, and then hopefully if they can do that, they can take that into their league form as well and have a bit of a feel-good factor, and maybe get the feel-good factor around the ground and having the fans and the players kind of unite. Because when they are like that, like last season, it seems to be a really nice atmosphere for the fans there. We've seen it before when they won the cup and stuff like that. When Richmond's bouncing and the team and the players are all doing well, I think it's a really nice vibe to be around. I think Kenny can do that. I think it's just he has to get these ties to go well. Like Pats, they have the squad for it. They still could add, because we're in the transfer window, so they still could add. I'd be interested to see if they do add as well, and what areas that they add, because they have quality all over the pitch. I mean, if Mila doesn't score, Keenan may score. Jake Mulroney and Zach Elbazidi on the wings, Simon Power, there's another winger, I'm sure I'm forgetting, Keane Levy. They have attacking players there. The players are all capable of getting assists and scoring goals. They shouldn't have any problems with scoring goals, but for some reason they have lately. So, I think there's only a matter of time to start scoring goals again.
Yeah, completely agree. And Richmond Park is a great place, a great environment to be in when they're playing that free-flowing attacking football that we know we're capable of playing. We've seen that at the back end of last season. I think an important thing from this game, I know it was only a penalty, but it's important to get Aidan Keane back scoring goals. I think you talked about the kind of Shells players in the last couple of weeks of Duff. I think Aidan Keane is someone who's looked like he's had the weight of the world on his shoulders the last couple of weeks. He's been really off the ball, as opposed to his start of the season when he just couldn't stop scoring goals. I feel like he's almost had the pressure of the team on him, and he hasn't been playing nearly as well. I think it's great to get that kind of monkey off his back, scoring the penalty against Hegelman, and we'll wait and see what happens this Thursday. A prediction for that game?
I go 2-1 away win. So what's that? 3-1 overall?
3-1, yeah.
2-1 away win. I just think they'll need to score, and then Hegelman might get an equaliser or score early, and so Pats will have a job to do, but I think that they should professionally see it out.
Yeah, I think it'll be a tough one. I'll go 1-1 and Pats to go through 2-1 on aggregate. But moving on to the League of Ireland fixtures, only a couple this week because obviously the teams are playing in Europe. Also, we have cup games this weekend. But Bows, a great win at home against Galway, 3-0. And Douglas James Taylor, in his home debut in front of the Daily Mount faithful, he scored a great goal in the second half. Lovely turn and finish from outside the box. And then just to put the cherry on the cake, James Clark scored 2 great goals as well. James Clark been in great form recently and moves Bows into second place. We'll come on to Derry, who slipped up, but a great performance from Bows.
Yeah, and then you obviously mentioned Douglas James Taylor, but like Dawson Devoy, James Clark playing nice football as well. It was a good result for Bows. Statement win, and they need to do it more often. But maybe with Douglas James Taylor now at the forefront of the attack, maybe that was the missing piece of the jigsaw.
And I think for a player like Douglas James Taylor, I know he's done his best at Drogheda, and Drogheda have always been a team who kind of perform greater than the sum of their parts. But I think nothing could be more beneficial for a player like him than being surrounded by people like James Clark, like Ross Tierney, Dawson Devoy, Dale Rooney. There's an abundance of creative players in that team. And just to talk about Dawson Devoy, I think recently he's been unbelievable. And I'd say, go as far as to say he's been the best player in the league on recent form. He's just been absolutely irreplaceable. And I think even in that 0-0 game out in Richmond Park, I think that was really where you're seeing the full capability of Dawson Devoy, both going backwards and going forwards. Yeah, you mentioned that it was a tough game on paper against Galway at home, and believe it or not, it's the first time Bows have beaten Galway in Dalymount Park in over a decade. Goes to show how long Galway have been out of the Premier Division, but also how tough a team they are to play. They lost them earlier in the season. Obviously, Moses Dyer with an absolute screamer at the time. That was when James Talbot was in goal. Moses Dyer still the joint top scorer in the league, but on the surface of it, this could have been a really kind of banana skin sort of game. But it's an important 3 points for Bows because they had actually slipped up in a couple of games recently. It's good to keep them in that, in that second place, but more importantly in the race for Europe. And moving on to their rivals for that place in Europe, game up in the showgrounds on Saturday. Sligo beat Derry City 2-0. It was 2 first half goals, first from Patrick McLean, second from Wilson Waweru, second being a mistake by Brian Maher that helped Sligo go 2 in front. But a big slip up by Derry, I would say.
Yeah, Patrick McLean scored against his old club, for his old club as well. So yeah, he was delighted to score against Derry. Yeah, major slip up for Derry. I mean, wow. Talk about taking the foot off the gas at the wrong time. The way Derry were playing, you would have put your house on them getting that result. But I said it a few weeks back. I said, like, you think that they're gonna do this and then they let you down. And I'm not saying it to be like,
to be fair, you were the one pumping the brakes on Derry a few weeks ago.
Yeah, but then but it's because of this stuff like this is that you want them to do well, and you want to see Derry fans have a bit of happiness. I do anyway. I like them, but then they go and do that, and it's just like every time you want them to do well, they end up just, you would say, bottling it. And yeah, it's hard for me to sit here and talk about them because I always feel like I'm saying the same thing about them. You want them to do well, and then they're going well. And like, I even spoke to Tiernan Lynch on Wednesday night in Talca after the Shells game. He was doing commentary for RTE, and I was talking to him, and I said, it's great to see he's doing well. I hope you just keep it up and keep a title race going. And he was like, we're not getting carried away yet. And I said, I know, and I appreciate you're always going to say that as well. And I just said, it's just good to have like 2 teams or even 3 with Bows kind of going for it rather than just one team running away with it. And he was like agreeing with me and all. Really nice fella. So, again, I'd like to see them do well for him and stuff like that as well. So like, it's just, but then they go and do that. And it's just,
Yeah,
should be winning them games.
I will agree with that because I've said it before, and Derry I actually do like as a club, but it seems like anytime you put your faith in them, they always seem to let you down. And so the current state of the union is that Rovers are top of the league on 49 points, Bows second on 41 points, but they have a game in hand on Rovers. Derry also a game in hand on Rovers, but on 40 points. So Bows into second outright, but the other story in this game is on the other end of it, Sligo winning 2-0. And brilliant performance really. I think Sligo have been on the up the last couple of weeks. Great young players that they've brought in. I think they've signed really well. They brought James McManus in on loan. They brought Ryan O'Kane in from Shells. They've got great young players already in the team, like Jada Kiki, like Owen Elding. Wilson Waweru, who scored in this game, is a really good striker, although maybe a little bit hot and cold. it goes to show why showgrounds is such a hard place to go at times. And even Rovers went up there and dropped points a few weeks ago. It takes them further out of the drop zone. I know they are still in that relegation playoff spot, but it pushes Cork further down, who will come on to now. They lost the Munster derby 2-0 to Waterford, goals from Sam Glenfield and Tommy Lonergan that won the game for them. It was actually funny, I seen John Coleman still wasn't satisfied with the performance. He was not pleased at all. It seemed like he gave his players a hammer, and even though they won the game 2-0, I just love John Coleman. But the Cork fans don't seem to love their team at the moment. Can you explain what kind of happened there after the match?
Well, just going off the video that surfaced online, I mean, we put it out. At the time of recording, it had near 220,000 views on it. You know, it was. It seemed like, and that was just on Instagram, as I know the original person who shared it up on TikTok. He like that would have been going well as well. But I'm just looking here on the Instagram, doesn't seem to be loading fast. But didn't have the Wi-Fi on. That's my problem. But he had 306,000 views. That video. We're basically a fan, and by the looks of the video, I know the fan. But he jumps the fence, and then kind of gets in an altercation where he confronts the staff, and then he gets pushed, and then it kind of escalates and stuff. And the fans and the owner seem to have this thing at the moment where they against each other. The fans don't like the owner, and then they're kind of having a go at the players. And from what I've heard online, but this is only speculation, I've just heard that it's like the fans don't think the players are trying hard enough for the team. That's what the word on the town is. But I don't know. Like, I watched them against Celtic, and I thought they really put their bodies on the line against Celtic. They were making loads of blocks and stuff like that. It was like a glorified friendly, which I understand. But it was like, I imagine some good money was made for everyone involved in that, and it was a good occasion down there. But then, they just can't seem to buy a win at the moment. They can't seem to buy any luck. I mean, between Shawnee and Rory Keaton getting injured, you know, they haven't been able to keep them two fit, and they would have been their big hopes to score goals to keep them up and kind of keep them maybe even mid-table, or doing like what Waterford are doing or something like that, or Drogheda. Well, maybe not that high, but I think it's disappointing again that Cork are looking like they're going to be going down again. I think the club, I think that the league needs a Cork in there because they're just such a good fan base. You know, you think it's I kind of compare it to Leeds in a sense. Is that like the Premier League kind of needs Leeds in there because it's such a good fan base, and they're so loyal that they'll follow them in no matter what division they're in, and they'll still probably have the best attendance. So that's the compliment I could pay to the Cork fans. Not so much the fans that entered the pitch. I don't agree with that. I think you stay in the stadium and you stay in your area and shout whatever onto the pitch, but you can't go confronting people. I think the security need to do a better job on that.
Yeah, it's interesting, that point of view, that they don't think the players are maybe trying.
It's just a word on the street now. I wouldn't be confirming or denying it.
Yeah. But look, the circumstances have been difficult for Cork this season. Obviously, Tim Clancy left, had his obviously personal reasons why he left, but he leaves. They replaced the manager. They have some of their best players this season leave. De Janeiro Daniels, who was their top scorer at a time, he goes. Their goalkeeper Truce, who seemed to be a real kind of diamond in the rough that they found, he seemed to be performing really well for them. He's gone now as well. Jer Nash has come in. I would say they play a nicer brand of football, is the best kind of compliment I can give to them. But 2 wins all season, 15 points. They're now 8 points off Sligo, who are in 9th. It just really seems quite bleak in Cork at the moment. And I completely agree with you there. I'd say Cork are way too big of a team to be, you know, yo-yoing up and down between the First Division and the Premier Division. It's not long ago I was seeing some Cork fan TikTok pages posting some old reminiscent videos of them playing in the Aviva against Dundalk in those great finals, and what a rivalry that was to look back on some of those matchups. And obviously Sean Maguire, who's still in the squad right now, he, you know, his duels up against Stephen Kenny's Dundalk, you know, that's some of the great kind of story tales to look back on prior to the likes of Damien Duff and Stephen Bradley and Stephen Kenny's return to St. Pat's. You know, this is the last generation of fans kind of thing to look back on. So Cork, it would be a real disappointment if they were just to go straight back down again, because I think you'd agree with me. I think we had far higher expectations for Cork this season coming into it. Yeah,
no, I would agree with you. There's not really much to say about it, to be honest. Unless they have a miracle transfer window, I think they're all set, but to be relegated, unfortunately for them.
Yeah. And I think I asked you a couple of weeks before, or a few weeks more down the road, you're reluctant to give me a prediction on the European race, even the relegation race. You give me a prediction now?
I mean, what do you want me to say?
A prediction. Give me your prediction.
After Cork are going to go down. I mean, they are.
All right, give me a European prediction.
I don't know what you want. Bowes will get you.
I just wanted to hear you say
there
it.
you go, right. Now, fuck off.
And on that note, we'll see you next week.